I freezing? Vanette, hey girl, hey. Am I freezing? Am I freezing? Am I freezing? No, I'm good. Okay, I'll be so glad when Verizon come out here and bring Fios. We got Spectrum out here. I do not like their service, but we can't get nothing else out here because they got the whole monopoly on this area. It really sucks. Only thing Verizon can give us right now is a phone line. We want the whole internet. All right, beautiful people. Happy Wednesday. It is December the 7th, 2022, day 282 of year 4 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets, and of the 4-year consecutive day count is day 1302. Today we're picking back up in the book of Oahspe, Son of Jehovah in Oahspe on page 78. And then when we get done, we're going to hop on over here to the field guide to the spirit world and pick up where we left off at on Monday on page 166. So over here. Greetings, Vanette Shebrew. Hey, girl. Hey, Auntie Grand Rising. Elijah, peace and blessings. Hannah, shalom, shalom. Dawn, what's on and poppin', sis? All right, y'all. And everybody else here hanging out in the background. Top of the day to you. To everybody else here on Facebook. Hey, y'all. All right, y'all. So let's get started. Father, we thank you that not only are you ever present, but you always know everything. Let's just keep it like that, like everything. It's amazing. The more I think about the Creator, and then the more I think about the level of Creator, that everybody can also aspire to and rise to, it makes me think just a little bit deeper about the multiple worlds that are created, right? We have the main creator, right, who's the creator of everything. But then you have those coming up in the ranks that he allows to create the same type of things. You can now create your own world, right? So I'm just, I'm really thinking about this, right? So I'm wondering, clearly we know we're talking to the highest, but at what point do we bring in the, and that may not be until we actually get up a little bit higher, where they can actually recognize the creators from the other creators, right? It's interesting. Don't think I'm crazy. But when I read something in here, I'm trying to find out where I read it at. I was like, definitely, you would be a creator at some point in time, probably a million years from now. But just think about all the education you'd have to have in order to rule justly, unbiasedly, and be able to see everything and watch the progression of multiple worlds in order to stay balanced through it all, like Creator does, right? That takes I don't know how long of training that takes, but it's got to be a whole heck of a long time to be able to deal with the shenanigans that happen, especially here on Earth. That's a personal feeling of the Creator within you. I agree with that. Shannon, shalom. Hold on, y'all. Let me cut on this air for a second. Sheesh. Somebody turned that jank up to 76. The heat. I was like, it should not be this hot down here. All right, y'all. Let's get started. Chapter 14, page 78 in the Oahspe. The voice of Jehovah came to God, saying, Behold, the time draweth near when my son shall commit the care of Horeb and her affairs to another God for another 400 years. This then is the commandment of thy Creator, O God. Horeb shall advance to the second resurrection, but the first resurrection shall be established with my lords. And when the Lord hath a sufficient number of souls who are advanced to take the second resurrection, then shall they be brought to this, my holy place, where they shall be further prepared for the next resurrection. This was accomplished, and the heavenly kingdoms with thrones for the lords for the first resurrection were established on the earth and in the divisions of the lords, so that there were allotted to these lords kingdoms 33 years for resurrection, because 33 is the division of Dan, corresponding to 100 Dans to each cycle. After cycle is reference letter F. Reference letter F can be found on page 83, and it is actually the last reference for this particular book. And it says 33 years is one generation or mortal Dan. 3,300 years is one cycle or Dan of the earth's life. This was the old way of counting, but 3 times 33 is not 100, nor is 30 times 100 3,300. Still, there is this correspondence. If a Dan or grand cycle of the earth is 3,300 years, then the generations of men are said to be 33 years. But if a Dan or grand cycle of the earth is 3,000 years, then a generation of men will be 30 years. 1891 edition. Okay, let's hop back. Page 78, verse 4. Accordingly, every 33 years thereafter, there was one migration of a group from the Lord's first resurrection to that of Horeb, which was God's second resurrection, whereby the light of Dan fell on 200 years, 400 years, 500 years, 600 years, and 1,000 years, which became the base of prophecy for each cycle from that time forth for a long period. God said, "Close the gates of Horeb, and from this time ever after, only those of the second resurrection can enter." And it was so. Read that again. God said, "Close the gates of Horeb, and from this time ever after, only those of the second resurrection can enter." And it was so. And Horeb was extended over Japheth, Shem, and Ham to the second degree, but of Gautama, this is the manner of her heaven. The Lord made 2 kingdoms, the first and second resurrections, and allotted the first to a proxy in his own name, but over the second he presided in person, teaching his people by proxy of God in Horeb. For the distance of the sea lay between these heavens, and the access could not be made in diminutive light of 33 years. Nevertheless, the Lord and his attendants maintained an Etherian ship that enabled him to cross the sea at intervals of 11 years. Let me read that again. Verse 5. God said, "Close the gates of Horeb, and from this time ever after, only those of the second resurrection can enter." And it was so. And Horeb was extended over Japheth, Shem, and Ham to the second degree. But of Gautama, this is the manner of her heaven. The Lord made 2 kingdoms, the first and second resurrections, and allotted the first to a proxy in his own name. But over the second, he presided in person, teaching his people by proxy of God in Horeb, which is in the second now. Okay. I'm trying to... There's like a thought trying to form. That's why I'm reading it over. I'm like, wait a minute, hold on. I'm trying to connect it to something. Now let me just keep reading. The Lord made 2 kingdoms, the first and second resurrections, and allotted the first to a proxy in his own name. But over the second he presided in person, teaching his people by proxy of God in Horeb. For the distance of the sea lay between these heavens, and the access could not be made in the diminutive light of 33. Nevertheless, the Lord and his attendants maintained an Etherian ship that enabled him to cross the sea at intervals of 11 years. Accordingly now, in the second resurrection, new colleges were established in heaven, and the spirits began the study of elements and illustrations in S and Us, and the process of travel and of carrying corporal entities. And these spirits were at times under Ashars, taken down to mortals to assist in miracles and legerdemain. For the lessons in the second resurrection embraced the mastery of corpore in analysis and synthesis. That's good. Hold on. I don't know why all my different color highlighters keep disappearing. I can only find my yellow one and my orange one. Hold on. I'm gonna have to open up my new box upstairs. It's good. Derry CM, shalom, shalom. Avia, shalom, greetings, greetings. This is Anita. Okay, hey Anita. She said, this is my Hebrew name. Greetings, sis. All right, y'all. Animalistic nature. Peace. What's up? Okay, let me read this again. Verse 6, on page 79 in chapter 14 in the book of Oahspe. Accordingly now, in the second resurrection, new colleges were established in heaven, and the spirits began the study of elements and illustrations in S and Us, and the process of travel and of carrying corporal entities. Remember, S is the spiritual realm, and Us represents the darkness. And the spirits began the study of elements and illustrations in S and Us, and the process of travel and of carrying corporal entities. And these spirits were at times under Ashars, taken down to mortals to assist in miracles and legerdemain. For the lessons in the second resurrection embrace the mastery of corpore in analysis and synthesis. After the first year of God in Huatan, he went therefore every 11th year and remained 1 year of the earth's time, so that in 200 years he made 18 visits. Now on his first visit, he brought back with him a certain number of volunteers, being of those raised by the ark of Noah, and the next visit he brought back twice as many as the first, and the next time 3 times as many as the second, and increasing for 18 visits. And on the last visit, it was estimated how many he had brought back in all, and the number was 1,000 million. And they were raised to the second resurrection, having been under the training of the gods and goddesses of Huatan, under the direction of Oahspe, son of Jehovah. And now that the time of Dan was drawing near, and Oahspe could return to provide for the ascent of Jehovah's harvest, God looked up with a cheerful heart, for it was evident that by the inspiration of the 200 years from the submersion of Pan, many of the spirits delivered from the earth in that day would be prepared to take the second resurrection. Wherefore God prophesied, saying, through thee, O Jehovah, in another 100 years, I shall have delivered them into Ethera, and not the Ethera is Nirvana, as thy brides and bridegrooms. Next chapter, chapter 15. Oh, there it is. I just saw something. Let me read. Let me see if we'll read it. Hold on. Yeah, let me just keep going. I'll see if we got time to read that part, because it mentions something here. Okay. Jehovah spake in the light of the throne of God in Horeb, saying, behold, a star cometh. The voice ceased, but God and his host knew the meaning, for it was the time of Oahspe to return and complete his deliverance of Neph and his hosts and his lords and their hosts. So the council were moved to look into the firmament, and the messengers who had heard the voice and who were departing on their various missions also looked upward, even as they sped forth to their places, and they proclaimed it in the places of all the heavens of the earth, and to the lords and their divisions of the earth. And the angel of heaven and those that abode with mortals were stirred up because of their contiguity to mortals. The latter comprehended that something unusual was near at hand. The council of Horeb knew not how they should proceed, for the event was to surpass in magnificence anything they had ever witnessed. God said, I have heard thy voice, O Jehovah. I know a star cometh, and great shall be the glory thereof. Give me light, O Father. How shall thy servant know the decorum of Orion chiefs? Behold, I am as one abashed with obscurity in thy wide universe. Jehovah's voice answered, saying, fear not, my son, and let thy counsel be strong also. Proceed at once to decorate thy people, preparatory to receiving the resurrection. And those who are to be my brides and bridegrooms, clothe ye in white. The whole council heard Jehovah's voice, and they ordained officers to proceed throughout atmosphere and put in effect Jehovah's commandment. And the decorated angels and those prepared as brides and bridegrooms for Ethera were ordered to form in companies near the throne of God in Horeb. And the officers of companies were also provided with badges whereon was inscribed an account of their labor on earth and in heaven, the number and nature of their charities and self-sacrifices for others' good, and their grade in purity and power and wisdom. And the privates were decorated with stars to illustrate the same things in degree and number, and the station of their file in Horeb, were provided in order of music, rating them according to their chord and discord and their social adaptability. For these things were done before Etherian judges, to whom Jehovah had said, Let the people pass before you, and judge ye them, that being assorted and arranged, they shall make one harmonious whole. For it is only by this will they have power to ascend and endure in my regions of light. There were 1,000,000 of these judges, and they took up their stations in different parts of atmosphere, wherever the second resurrection had been established, every judge choosing a district for himself or herself, for they were both men and women. And as the angels passed before them, the wisdom of the judges was so great they could comprehend all they had ever done, either on earth or in heaven. And by signals, the proper officers were advised how to decorate and adorn all of them. And as fast as companies of 1,000 passed, they were provided with conductors who took them to their places which had been previously determined by the command of God. Whilst this work was proceeding, lights began to appear in the firmament above. These were the marshals of the Orion fields in Ethera, in their starships making course for Horeb, and their number was legion. But presently, one brighter and more powerful than the rest made way from the western arc of Onayi, and it steered direct to God's throne, growing brighter and larger as it came. And when it entered past Chinvat and was well within the vortex of the earth and the belt of the moon's orbit, its light spread across the whole atmosphere of heaven, and Horeb was illumined, and the angels of Horeb were stirred up with enthusiasm. Not long the brilliant star delayed the suspense of the angel world, for he who sailed them was a God of millions of years, and by his wisdom attained to such mastery that the elements of earth and atmosphere gave way as if appalled by a heaven on fire. Whew. He almost had creator status. Look, let me read this again. Like, bro, who is this? Verse 13, page 80. Not long, the brilliant star delayed the suspense of the angel world, for he who sailed them was a God of millions of years, and by his wisdom attained to such mastery that the elements of earth and atmosphere gave way as if appalled by a heaven on fire. Down came the starship whose majesty outweighed all ceremony, a very crown of magnificence, even to the arena of the council of Horeb. And he who came, attended by 500,000, was Suji, marshal for that which was soon to follow. Okay, Suji coming through. Look, bruh, how you get to this level? God rose up, saluting, and all the hosts rose up, whereupon Suji ascended the throne, greeted by God in his council near at hand. Suji said, By thy will, O Jehovah. And God said, In thy name, O Father, Creator, welcome to thy Son. And presently, all the place was aglow with a golden light, which ranks first in heaven of all colors. And the voice of Jehovah descended on Suji, and he said, Well beloved, come, long enduring, come, of patience and steadfastness, my sons and daughters. Behold, I came in the darkness and delivered me, for she was of twins heavenly laden. And the one dwelt with the mother, But the other I sent to nurse in Huatan, and they were grown to maturity, a son and daughter twin. Turn ye to Huatan, lo, the twin cometh. She was the puny child, but look ye upon her, O ye gods and goddesses. Her 1,000 millions come as an avalanche of Giayan worlds. Open your arms, O my beloved sons and daughters. The voice ceased, and Suji said, when the harvest of Huatan arriveth, attended by the gods and goddesses who help deliver the children of darkness, and who have changed them into beacons of light, behold ye, there shall be 3 days of recreation in atmosphere, for the hosts of Huatan shall be shown their native world whence they came, and they shall read the lineage, of kin and condition whence they were rescued by Jehovah's sons and daughters. But on the first day, behold, the Orion chief, will descend in all his glory. And on the fourth day, all your upraised sons and daughters shall ascend into the Etherian worlds, where there are in waiting to receive you millions of souls, long since dwellers in nirvana. Suji ceased speaking, having given commands as to the stations of his marshals around about the earth and her heaven. God sent his messengers, saying, go ye to Waka and say, God saith, my heavens hath been numbered, and the account of my laborers rendered to record. God sent his messengers, saying, go ye to Waka and say, God saith, my heavens have been numbered, and the account of my laborers rendered and recorded in the libraries of Horeb, and of all the hosts who have labored with thy God. Behold, thou, O Waka, standeth on the highest grade. Come therefore to the throne of thy God, and be anointed God of heaven and earth for the next 400 years, and as long after as Jehovah willeth. The messengers, attended by 1,000 marshals, departed for Adjun, the place of labor where Waka dwelt, being a physician's nurse for the Ezians and stillborn mortal children and those killed by abortion. And when I saw this, I highlighted this, I marked it up last time, but I saw something yesterday in Radiance about this. And I was thinking I might read it. I'm almost done. This is the last verse. And I'm going to scan over it real quick and see if I want to go ahead and read it. Okay. Verse 21. The messengers, attended by 1,000 marshals, departed for Adjun, the place of labor where Waka dwelt, being a physician's nurse for Ezians and stillborn mortal children and those killed by abortion. And they delivered the message of God, to which Waka replied, thanks, O Jehovah. Tell God I will come. But yet let me surmise. I have been all my life, now some 30,000 earth years, trying to learn what I should be most serviceable to Jehovah and his sons and daughters. And when I judge that I have found it, lo, a summons cometh from another way, saying, come thou hither. Wherefore it seemeth Jehovah forever hurrieth us onward, faster than our wisdom can discover the requirement. So the marshals provided an otavan, and Waka was conducted before Horeb, even to the foot of the throne of God, where he was saluted and received under a rod with water according to his rank. And this is where we'll pause at right in here. We're at like 23 minutes, but I think this might be a good point because I want to see if we can read this. Prince, shalom, Jamia. Hey, girl. Hey, Tony. Great house. Peace and love. Shalom, bro. Okay. Let me go here. Now, this is from, I saw this for everybody that got a copy of Radiance that Shibu sent out to everybody. I meant to post it. See if I could post the link in the community section and on Facebook today. Needy, shalom, sis. I'm going to see if I can post that today. You all may have it. But in there, yay, bronze. Yo, look, you got your Radiance yesterday, the big blue one. Okay, look. So I ain't talking about that one. I'm sure if something might be in there because I saw a lot of different passages about children, but I didn't read those. I didn't read them yet. What I want to read is this section. Hold on. Did I put it in my... I put it in my notes. Hold on. My books, I'm sorry. There we go. the sun rays of radiance. This one right here, right? This is like, I think it's like, was the first one that was released in 2017, right? By the same Elois that printed Oahspe, and the Radiance that everybody is getting, the 2022 one, right? This is a bit different to the one, I kind of skimmed over it a little bit. It has, towards the end of the big new one, those books, it references those books in this one right here, but this one is 2017, and this has a lot of information in it that's really good as well. So this was like the part one, and that's like, it seems like it's part two, right? But there was something in here, right? And this is sun rays of radiance, right? So you're getting little sun rays of this, and now we're releasing the whole Radiance book, right? But in here, there was on page 12, abortion. Let me just skim it real quick. Okay. Bless the innocents, the nurse from the plateau. Okay. So before I read this portion on abortion, let me read you the brief outline, right? And make sure when y'all get y'all printed book, y'all always go through and read the preface, the introduction. Don't skip over any of that, right? But I want to read this because this is absolutely beautiful. Listen, you ready? Okay, so I'm going to read the introduction, then we're going to read this portion about abortion, and then we're going to jump over here. Okay, so this is on page 8, a brief outline of the beliefs, practices, and principles of the Elois. And this was done in 1983. The Supreme Being is a living presence in every human being. In him and with him, we live, move, and have our being. In prayer, there's a direct communication with the Creator without the need of an intermediary, right? Like some of the religions teach you, you need this middleman and stuff. And for a period of time, while Earth was progressing and the human race was progressing, that was allowed by the Creator. But the time where we're at now, it's not time anymore for the saviors and stuff. Now we've developed to a point where we understand that we are spirits and we can learn how to ascend to the throne ourselves, and we don't need the intermediary anymore, right? Some people still believe we do, and that's okay if that's where your belief is at, but you should know as a whole the human race does not need that anymore, and they're having a hard time with understanding that, because you can go, that means there's no discredit to any of the saviors before, right? Because they were truly sent of the Creator for the raising up of the human race, right? But now you should be saving yourself, and because there's a direct line to the Creator, we can understand, like I said, our spirits, the spirits are being born into this world, being able to comprehend spiritual things, right? Some of these babies is more spiritual than some of these people that's been sitting up in the church house for 40, 50 years. Listen. The Supreme Being is the Supreme Being is a living presence in every human being. In him and with him, we live, move, and have our being. In prayer, there's a direct communication with the Creator without the need of an intermediary. The all-mothering mind of the universe responds to our thoughts and feelings and prospers them, be they of light or of darkness. We reap as we sow. By wise use of the power of the divine presence, we can become creators of a better life for ourselves and a better world for all mankind. The human soul is immortal and retains its individuality throughout eternity. The purpose of life is growth toward the all-highest through the development of our talents, faculties, and powers in service to one another. We are potential gods and goddesses. We practice using the power of the Creator's presence within us to bless people and to help uplift all mankind. We aim to purify ourselves of all dark thoughts and feelings and selfish desires in order that we may become better instruments of light in service to God and humanity. We are affiliative for the sake of increased power of light and love that can be generated and that can be generated in association with others. We practice using the power of the Creator's presence within us to bless people and to help uplift all mankind. We aim to purify ourselves of all dark thoughts and feelings and selfish desires in order that we may become better instruments of light in service to God and humanity. We are affiliative for the sake of increased power of light and love that can be generated in association with others. We try to keep our thoughts and feelings on a high level at all times so as not to build up the ego self and strengthen darkness at the expense of the soul self. It has been said that we are what we eat. That this is an exaggeration, but our food is a contributory factor in making us what we are. Let me read that again. We all here, all of us know that, right? Look, we know that here. Listen. It has been said that we are what we eat. This is an exaggeration, but our food is a contributory factor in making us what we are. It affects our spiritual natures as well as our physical bodies. Meat eating is detrimental to the practice of peace and goodwill and the growth of the spirit. That is why we are vegetarians. People of all religions all over the world are killing one another. We abjure war in every way of life which is supported by the killing of fellow human beings. The infliction of any kind of injury upon another person is contrary to the voice of conscience and all true religions. Let me read it again. The infliction of any kind of injury upon another person is contrary to the voice of conscience and to all true religious feeling. Hold on. What is there? A period? It's like ending a sentence but going on like it's not. Hold on. To all true religious feeling. Okay, let me read it again. I'm gonna just read it like I don't see the period there, because it's running. It's not starting new sentences like going on. Okay, the infliction of any kind of injury upon another person is contrary to the voice of conscience and to all true religious feeling level at all times, so as not to build up the self-ego and strengthen darkness at the expense of the soul self. In our work, meditation is a part of each individual's practice, but it is not in itself the way of spiritual progress. The greatest development comes from experiencing and working for the good of others and in determining to serve the highest, best good of all. Finding a way to provide for the corporal needs of all people on earth is not the answer to world problems. A spiritual awakening is necessary. The realities of the spiritual and soul worlds are yet to be discovered by mortals. When mankind wakes up to know the whole truth about his divine capabilities and destiny, he will begin to build the long prayed for kingdom of heaven on earth. Okay, so then it shows a picture. It reminds me of the Merkaba or Merkaba, right? So let's go over here. And this first chapter is on abortion, right? Lines of light, I think you can see that for Facebook. That might be too bright for YouTube, right? But if you got it, it's on page 12, and it says lines of light. Everybody remember what the lines of light were, right? The first time we heard about it was when John Newborough was talking about how he got the overshadowing of the angelic to type Oahspe, right? As he looked while his hands were typing, he looked and he saw a line of light or a line of angels. The one closest to him had his hand on his shoulder, and every angel after him had their hands on each other's shoulders, leading all the way up to heaven. That's what he saw when he looked while his hands was typing. That's a line of light direct from the throne, right? Okay. Now, we also know that there can be broken lines of light, right? Which, as John Newborough progresses on, there is somewhere down the line a break in it, right? And he kind of got sidetracked, went off just a little bit, right? Okay. Abortion, lines of light, 1992. The hosts of light are with you in focus. We come from the realms that are not so far removed from your plane that we are insensitive to your earthly trials and your mortal needs, nor are we so close that we are unduly influenced by your realm's unenlightened behavior or the inharmony and disorganization of the lower atmospheric realms. Let me read it again. The hosts of light are with you in focus. We come from realms that are not so far removed from your plane that we are insensitive to your earthly trials and your mortal needs, nor are we so close that we are unduly influenced by your realm's unenlightened behavior or the inharmony and disorganization of the lower atmospheric realms. We have risen to a state in which unity of action and unity of purpose under one infinite source is our rule and guide. We work organically under one high council, and our labors, being so perfectly planned and orchestrated, bring us seasons of endless delight and fulfillment as only the higher, more liberated realms can enjoy. We come to your plane to bring guidance and inspiration to those who are receptive to the light. We work behind the scenes to orchestrate those earthly events that we can influence for the ultimate good, and to provide spiritual balm for those who suffer from those events of darkness or fate that we cannot influence. We greet those who arrive here both timely and We greet those who arrive here in both timely and untimely fashion, and give assurance and instruction to those who are advanced enough to perceive our presence. When they are not, we turn them over to those hosts who are best trained to deal with the souls who are diseased, undeveloped, or mired in darkness. Many of the latter are beyond our immediate help because they arrive in such great numbers at this time, especially when there are self-inflicted tragedies and wars. These unfortunates try us all and test our resources to the limit. Most have been left to their own devices until more opportune occasions arise at times of Dan or when Etherian hosts come to our assistance. It is at those times that circles of dedicated souls on earth can be most useful to us, for when they are trained and well developed over many years of discipline, they can be of use to us as batteries, step-down transformers, and anchors through which we can touch the lower atmospheric realms. So those of us, and clearly we know, right? And apparently those who are part of like the Alois, or those who have become disciplined, or who is helping translate some of the stuff that we're getting now, somebody has trained themselves and been disciplined enough where the lines of light can also flow through them. This just didn't happen with John Newbro. This happened with multiple people who choose to discipline themselves for the glory of the Creator, right? And however that comes through them, whether it's through prophecy or somebody else typing something out or writing it out, or however, right? When we align ourselves with Creator, the information can flow through us, and it can come to everybody else that's dumb to the spiritual realm, so we can all catch a clue and we can get on board, right? And everybody can progress faster. The spiritual awakening happens faster the more disciplined we become, because we are the outlets for them to move in mass, so to speak, right? Because they can really only inspire us, right? And you're either going to be inspired to the good or to the evil that we see happening here, right? So hopefully most of us will be aligning ourselves with Creator. Hold on. Tabitha said, makes one wonder, how is the line of light, how the line of light becomes broken, speaking about the line of communication. I would say, okay, so if we look at John Newbro, right, I think the line of light can be broken when you begin to listen to people who aren't in the line of light of Creator, right? You start taking their suggestions. I don't know if I want to share this. Okay, because I got a perfect example, but it's a family example. Let me share it. Okay, so a few years ago, my family my family started this prayer line for the family, right? We call it the WHBJ. That's like the initials of the different last names in our bigger family. So we started a prayer line, you know, for our family with different things that was happening, that was going on. And so we figured we'd meet early every morning. And without fail, we did it for like a couple years, like clockwork, right? And so what we did when we got online, and this was, we had like come out of the church, but we was, at this point, was like more in like the Hebrew roots, kind of like in that transition, right? So it was my immediate family, like my mom, then some of my aunts and my uncles and stuff like that, right? And so we would get on, it'd be about an hour. We get on and we just kind of started, we use like that same layout kind of like when you go to church, you know, we started with some like praise and worship. Somebody would sing a song, we join in maybe 1 or 2 songs or whatever, right? Everybody know when we come to the prayer line, it's time for business, no playing, right? So do what you need to do, get yourself up, be ready when we get up here so we can get some answers for the family, because we know when we come together, we get answers from the Father, right? So that's what we did. So it was like really organic. And then, you know, it started with a few. It started with a handful of us, and then it kind of just grew a little bit, right? But what happened as it grew a little bit, not that a few more family members were joining the line, and you had some households that had like multiple children in it. They were also, even though they didn't have the phone would be on speaker, and everybody in the household was required to get up. Like at that time, I think my sister and her 4 kids lived with my mom. That was one of the requirements. So if you're here, you can join us in the morning on a prayer line. You know, you didn't have to have the phone, but everybody come into the living room or get around the dining room table. We sit the phone in the middle and everybody's present. Make sure the children are woke, right? And everybody, you know, but it was like organic, right? And it was like, you know how you get into a place and you just kind of like let the spirit move. And that's what we did just starting out, right? And it was flowing. We was getting information, like spirit. It was like getting downloads in the morning. Like it was one of the most amazing things. And my family at that time, we was kind of spread out. We was in different states and stuff. But every morning at that same time, we would meet, and whatever answers, or somebody had a prayer request, pray for a friend or something that we knew, engaged in the business or whatever, in the morning time, we would bring that, and we would begin to see like immediate results and stuff, right? But as more people began to join the line or whatever, some people, I want to be careful how I say this. You know how some people like schedules, like stay on schedule, this, I'm joining this, and let me go about my way, right? That's like, give me a schedule so I can be, they weren't at the time, they weren't like really feeling the whole organic thing, right? It's like, what y'all doing? Just come on, do this prayer for 15 minutes, talk for 15 minutes, this for 15 minutes, and this for this. Like almost, not they were keeping time, but it's like, okay, let's get to it. But the way we had grown to flow in this is just like, and we'd stay within like the hour, but sometimes we'd spend more time in a worship than we would on prayer. It just depends on how the atmosphere was going that morning. You just have to be there to like experience what was happening, right? And we just kind of learned to flow with that spiritually, because that's how we got the answers, right? It's like, I can't really explain it. It's just how it happened. And anytime we had a prayer request or something, like I said, we would literally see immediate answers to things right after we bring it to the family. Okay, this is this. Okay. And we just ask the Father petition, whatever. We ask for wisdom, what to do. But particular people began to voice their concerns about how the morning was being spent, so to speak, right? I'm just kind of sum it up. And what began to happen, like, okay, well, maybe you're right. We'll start, okay, somebody do an agenda. and stuff like this, right? And so what happened was when we began to put in the plan, put in the plan of man and not really flowing and operating by our spirit, which we had grown accustomed to doing because it never led us astray. It flowed. Anytime we had a question or request, we needed some wisdom on something for outside for that day or the coming days, we were able to get it like immediately. But then when we brought in that, and not that the structure is wrong, because it's not. Like, you need that in business meetings. You got to stay on task and agenda. When we brought that element into this, in this spiritual atmosphere, it threw everything off. And it seemed like it dried up just like immediately.
I am so sorry for the aggressive tackle. That was so out of pocket. I am so sorry.
Boy, move. And so that's one way.
She is safe. She is fine.
Boy, move. So that's one way lines of light can be broken. Now, what was done wasn't bad in itself because organization and structure is needed, but you have to have like a spiritual understanding. I know. Switch them out. Pull some cold ones. I went upstairs. I ain't juicy. You have to have a little bit of spiritual insight. Let me finish what I'm saying, boy. No, if you was really on your deathbed, I would have been juicing for you. But you was up walking around here playing around with everybody. I'm like, no. He can juice his own stuff. Listen, so that's one of the ways, Tabitha, how the lines of light or communication can be broken, right? You try to come in and adjust spiritual thing. And I could be explaining it wrong, right? Because I'm sure I understand there's a method to the madness, right? But at that time, I couldn't really put my hand on how it works when the spiritual atmosphere is charged, where it's like it's a portal open and you can pull out what you need. I'm sure there's a where I can't exactly pinpoint everything. I just know everybody's of like mind. We've prepared our spirits. Everybody has tuned themselves. And with the prayer and worship, a couple songs of praise, maybe a couple fast ones, little slow ones, it tunes you. Just like if you chant or if you were to pray in tongues. Every instrument present is tuned to the frequency of the Creator, which is why we got like immediate answers, right? But if you have people coming in, they don't necessarily do what we do or not as diligent as the others are, and they just like, okay, let's get on with it. You see it happening in church too. Sitting in there, you got people, okay, I'm just coming for the message, get my time in so I can go. They don't really get a lot from the service or whatever meeting they're going to. Compared to other people who have prepared themselves. I know what I'm going for, so I know in order to hear clearly, I have to tune myself. And I'm on my time before I get here. I'm not going to get here waiting for them to hype me up so I can get what I need. No, I'm going to come in here prepared. So I'm going to tune myself before I get there. So when I come in here, it's that much easier, and I can click into the open portal that's here already. So that's one of the ways the lines of light can be broken that I understand, Tabitha, right?
I'm so happy that.
Okay. That's your same understanding. Yeah, so that's like one of the ways. And that's kind of what happened, so to speak, with John Newbro as well, right? He had the line of light. The information was flowing through him. He was super excited about it, telling everybody. And he told some of his Masonic buddies, right? And they like, okay, agenda, pull this together. Okay, we can't let this get out. Let us help you control this information. What needs to go out, we'll release it at certain times. And John Newbro, he just kind of went with that, and that's when the line of light began to be broken. They began to infiltrate him with some of the stuff that got added into there. Certain Masonic and religious rites that got added in the Book of Sapphire, like all of this stuff. So Jeremiah, don't mess with that. What are you doing? Put it back up there. Stop messing with my stuff. So that's one of the ways, right? Okay. So let's go back here.
You should definitely put your phone on this one.
Chill out. All right. So let me go back here. I got on that because batteries. We can be used as batteries, transformers, and anchors through which the spiritual realm can operate and be here. So let me read this. We're on page 13. We're on page 13. At the top paragraph.
They can also use technologies, but those are kind of taken away.
But somebody got to use somebody got to operate them. These unfortunates try us all and test our resources to the limit. Most have have to be left to their own devices until more opportune occasions arise at times of Dan or when Ethereal hosts come to our assistance. It is at those times that circles of dedicated souls on earth can be most useful to us, for when they are trained and well developed over many years of discipline, they can be of use to us as batteries, step-down transformers, and anchors through which we can touch the lower atmospheric realms. Through our earthly intermediaries, we can reach those in the lower spiritual realms, even though they have already passed through the veil into our spirit world. Hold on, let me read that again. Through our earthly intermediaries, which will be us, those who are disciplined, aligning ourselves to the line of light, to the Creator, right? We're making ourselves of use so Father can flow through us, right? Through our earthly intermediaries, we can reach those in the lower spiritual realms, even though they have already passed through the veil into our world of spirit. Talking about those who have already died and gone into the spiritual realm. They're fully spirit, they're fully born, right? But if they are ignorant of spiritual things, they hover around the first the first heaven, like they're kind of stuck there. They call it Hada or hell. But we can still reach those that are there in the first resurrection because they're lingering here. Most of them are attaching themselves to loved ones and just different people who have themselves open, right? So we help them to detach themselves and continue raising up, right? So we help one another. I'll read this paragraph again. And remember, this is the portion, the first section we're reading about abortion because we talked about this over here in Oahspe, and I just wanted to read this little section. These unfortunates try us all and test our resources to the limit. Most have to be left to their own devices until more opportune occasions arise at times of Dan or when Ethereal hosts come to our assistance. It is at those times that circles of dedicated souls on earth can be most useful to us. For when they are trained and well developed over many years of discipline, they can be of use to us as batteries, step-down transformers, and anchors through which we can touch the lower atmospheric realms. Through our earthly intermediaries, we can reach those in the lower spiritual realms, even though they have already passed through the veil into our world of spirit, meaning they've died. Lastly, we also work with those who are young, undeveloped, and innocent. Those youthful souls of innocence who are thrust upon us through untimely births, mistreatment, or abortion. These arrive without the sins of darkness upon them, and they are cared for in a most considerate, caring, and loving environment, well removed from the lower discordant realms of the earth. Some are joined with an appropriate corporal host under close supervision until they are mature enough to be taken in a state of spiritual infancy to an appropriate region for care, while others who are more mature are removed right away. But in either case, all of these innocents quickly find their way to our organic heavens of the higher atmospheric realms. Though they may have arrived under the most sorrowful circumstances, they are all by their innocence and virtue special gems in our plateau of light and love. Here they are kept in love and joy and away from all harm, where they soon mature with grace and beauty. And I'm going to read this next section where it says, Bless the Innocents, 1984. Soon we will be gone from your focus until our travels bring us back to your realm again. My host and I have been hard at work to strengthen the organizations that are helping the weak-minded, the undeveloped, and misguided souls who continually cross the great divide. Our nurseries, most of all, are overburdened above your nation. These are part of the great change we are seeking. Your people must make the leap in consciousness from war and violence to peace. They must learn peace among nations, peace in the home, and peace within their inner selves. They must also put an end to the slaughter of the innocents and either accept the responsibility of parenthood or learn how to become mature adults and not become parents through conscious choice. Woo. We can no longer tolerate the continued destruction of so many unborn babes. The hand of judgment will remain above all nations that condone such practices until their ways are changed. Peace will not reign within their families, but they will continue to deteriorate and wallow in misery. And that's the end of this right here. The next section is A Nurse from the Plateau, which it kind of still just goes on a little bit more about the children, and it talks about the gift of life, but I don't want to go that far yet, all right? But everybody got a copy of this. You got the PDF, but keep reading ahead, right? Okay. What you say? Vinette said, when we let it flow as the way Creator directs it, it works best. When we bring in earthly structure, it does flow well. It does or it doesn't flow well. I was reading Vinette's comment. Okay, y'all. Yeah, so if you don't have a copy, the ladies are sending out, if y'all email them, and like I said, I'll also post it as well. Hopefully it'll be a link where you can just click it and you will have it. But make sure you download it. If y'all got iPhone, any kind of Apple, use your iBooks. I'm not sure what Android has, but it's like a whole book library where you can save any kind of PDF, whatever. Hit it, save it in your books so you have it until you can get a hardback copy. I don't have a hardback copy yet, but I definitely do want one of this. And this one is like, what is like 1,600 pages? Let me go back to the beginning. This is thicker. This is almost double the size of the one that's coming, or the one that just came yesterday. And for y'all, the ones that's coming. Yeah, like the last, in the epilogue, The Voice of Angels, that starts on page 1681, right? So this is almost like 17, maybe a little bit more than 1,700 pages if you include the index and all of that stuff. So I think somebody put the number up here as well. But anyway, it's twice the size, 1682. Okay, so maybe 1,682 pages. All right, so, but it is good, right? Y'all, we got so much material we got to read and get through. I know it'll be a while before we can get to Radiance, but I'm still reading over, just like I'm also going through the Holy Megillah, right? So when I can connect pieces, I'll bring it in, because like I said, it's going to be a while before we get to them. But I think it's good that we can, we're able to make some of the connections. Okay, so we had 57 minutes. Let me just read 2 pages. Let me just read 2 pages of this. And then we'll get out of here. I can't be too long today. All right, so we paused in chapter 7, Countless Mental Vagaries, on page 166. And this right here, it's talking about the different people with the multiple altars and stuff. And we paused at the one right before it started talking about the lady Jenny with more than 400 altars. Right, so we're going to read about her case and the case of Annalise, and it's going to give us another little chart. So we're going to end at the after the quote after Sam Sagan. Okay. This statement by Jenny, a tortured, literally super multiple with more than 400 altars, suggests that something was eating at her, or more specifically, that her altars, the others, were consuming her. Hold on. Did I? Egypt, Sri Lanka. Hold on. I know I just read over it so much that I thought we read it. Okay. This statement by Jenny, a tortured, literally super multiple with more than 400 altars, suggests that something was eating at her, or more specifically, that her altars, the others, were consuming her. This would appear to be the case in that drained and rail-thin Britain, cited above, who finally went to see a nutritionist and was told that he had a tapeworm. Yet, after Sue Allen did a successful distant healing on this man, the nutritionist retested him. The tapeworm was gone. Had it been a spiritual tapeworm? It is tempting to argue that Carol T, another multiple, was actually burning calories in the upkeep of her altars. She tired so easily, explaining this as a result of her, quote, energy flow being routed to all the others, thus depleting my own energy store, end quote. Even when the, quote, other personalities are not, quote, out, end quote, it still takes a certain amount of energy for their maintenance. Cohen et al., 1991, page 70. A slightly more sinister motive was revealed in the case of a Miss Burton, who, being a natural clairvoyant, was bothered by spiritists. She consulted Dr. Wicklin, who teased out the attached spirit. It declared, quote, she eats too much and gets too strong. Then I have no power over her body. I want her to eat less, end quote. Wicklin, 1974, page 51. A simple case of a spirit trying to weaken and emancipate its host in order to gain the upper hand. In the tragic case of Annalise, the German girl who died possessed, exhausted, and emaciated, her neck muscles got so tense she could not even swallow solid food. Quote, pressure on the stomach, end quote, made eating almost impossible. Father Alt, one of the priests who tried to exorcise Annalise, was himself attacked. This was not unusual. First, he developed an iron deficiency, then a drop in manganese and potassium nitrate. His kidneys also began to dysfunction. Quote, in other words, I was leached out, end quote. Goodman, 1981, page 225 and 218. That was in Germany, but it doesn't matter which part of the world you are in when it comes to demonic infestation. The results are strikingly alike everywhere, and the, quote, leeching, end quote, is not uncommon. Here are a few more examples from different lands, and here's the bullet point list. Africa, the victim, quote, lost his appetite and almost completely ceased to eat, end quote. Osterich, 1935, page 139. Senegal, quote, the possession syndrome is characterized by depression, anorexia, and loss of weight, end quote. Crapazano and Garrison, page 1977, year 1977, page 94. In Egypt, quote, the symptoms that the possessed experience included stomach pain, loss of appetite, and epilepsy, end quote. Crapazano and Garrison, 1977, page 179. Sri Lanka, among women, conditions linked to spirit possession included hypochondriasis, hysteria, and anorexia. Crapazano and Garrison, 1977, page 243. Italy, the possessed woman who was finally cleared in the 13th exorcism. Good googly moogly. She had to be exorcised 13 times. The possessed woman who was finally cleared in the 13th exorcism has, quote, been reduced almost to a corpse, end quote. Christiani, 1961, page 140. France, assailed by homicidal urges, headaches, dizziness, and loss of weight, the woman told the doctor, quote, I am not mad, but I feel there is some force inside me, end quote. She could not eat, quote, was slowly wasting away, end quote. Christiani, 1961, page 147, 151, and 155. Britain, the woman who murdered 4 little children for no apparent reason had been a little, quote, chunky, end quote, but by the time of her trial, quote, had become anorexic, weighing less than half of what she once had. She was herself in danger of death, end quote. Wrestler, 1997, pages 54 to 55. Some victims of, quote, spiritual anorexia, end quote, become so emaciated they have to be fed intravenously. Gratefully, hypnosis sometimes makes a difference. In the 19th century case, one, quote, voice, end quote, heard by the victim claimed to be, quote, an unhappy dead man. By a hypnotic treatment, one of the demons had been expelled. She, the victim, was thin and little more than a skeleton, end quote. Oahspe, 1935, pages 14 through 15. Others, like Dr. M. Scott Peck's patient, Baka, resist exorcism and remain, quote, dramatically underweight, gaunt, suicidal, and depressed. Peck, 2005, page 134, 151. I should have said, end quote, after depressed. The leeching fatigue felt by many anorexics is not unlike a parasitic effect. The comparison seems all the more relevant in light of Robert Monroe's personal experience in locale 2. Entities that grabbed onto him during his amazing OBE experiments, quote, attached themselves like the parasitic suckerfish. They weren't vicious, just troublesome. They came clustering around, attracted by me. It was as if I were bait, end quote. Monroe, 1971, page 171. Page 141. What Monroe dubbed as parasites are actually called vampire spirits in the Oahspe Bible. Quote, spirits who inhabit mortals in order to live on the substance mortals eat and drink, often absorbing their strength and life, shall be known as vampires, end quote. And that's found in the Oahspe, Book of Bond, chapter 14, verse 10. Nestling in the aura of the living, vampire spirits are capable of absorbing the vitality of their host, sucking their, quote, blood and flesh till the brain and heart are wild and mad, end quote. Oahspe, Book of Wars, chapter 54, verse 18. They cause their victims, quote, to emaciate and to become insane, end quote. Oahspe, God's Book of Esra, chapter 7, verse 10. Such nasty entities, according to Spiritualis, question 64, and Oahspe prequel, remember Spiritualis is the book that John Newborough wrote. He had another whole spiritual encounter before Oahspe was penned. Remember, he spent years dedicating himself to cleaning up his life, eating right, so that he could hear clearly spiritually. And this was one of the, this book came out of one of the spiritual encounters he had when he was asking questions and they were being answered, right? Okay, so that's, I'll just read the whole sentence again. Such nasty entities, according to Spiritualis, question 64, and Oahspe prequel, are, quote, evil spirits gasping for food and strength. These vampires love to draw substance from the fount where your own spirit feeds, end quote. Are they the same entities described by young Sally in Judith Rappaport's book, 1989, page 155 on OCD? The sixth grader lost 10 pounds, quote, an evil force is inside her, end quote. The child had begun to exhibit signs of obsession just before her confirmation. Quote, soon after identifying the presence, most clients tend to perceive it as being a parasite. They often relate the presence to symptoms of emptiness, end quote. Sam Sagan, or Sagan. And that is where we're going to pause. And we'll pick up the rest of this because it's continuing with these examples. And just giving some more insight on this and how the spirits actually invade. I need another tab. The stickiness is gone. All right, y'all. So where we at? An hour and 8 minutes. Okay. Go back here. All right, y'all. All right, so that is it for today. I hope y'all enjoyed the little bits and pieces that I shared from the first version of Radiance. I won't even say it's the first version. Well, you can call it the first version, but they call it the sun rays of Radiance, right? So, like I said, I'm a post that, and make sure you still order your other one, because it's different from this, right? It's spiritual insight that's been given over the years, and it's come through people who have aligned themselves with Creator, right? So we're to test all things, read through it, take what we can use, add it to our life for our own spiritual growth. What you can't use right now, maybe put it on the shelf. If you don't deem it to be trash can worthy, put it on the shelf. You may revisit it later. But if you come across something that's trash can worthy, if you run out of matches, remember, I'm just a phone call away. I keep matches. Burn up anything that's not useful for you and your spiritual growth, or useful to anybody for that matter, right? Some people may be able to use information that you can't use yet, just because they may have progressed a little bit further, so they're able to actually incorporate some of the lessons here, but you haven't necessarily gotten that far, so you can't use it yet, right? Just like I guess it's kind of the same example like a child, right? There's a vehicle, say a 7-year-old child, you will be able to drive, just not yet, right? We need some time. We need to get you some education on how to operate this, learn the rules of the road, right? It's not bad. It's just not right now for you, right? But let the others who reach this age and stage, let them go ahead and use the technology and the information that can be used at their level of understanding and wisdom, right? So I treat references and information the same way, right? There are some things I'm like, yeah, that's garbage, right to the trash can. But other things, can't use it yet, not quite sure, we'll shelf it. We'll take it off the table and we'll shelf it. We got a shelf, we got the tabletop, we got the trash can, remember, right? Everything is on the table now. As we get to it, if we can use it, we'll leave it on the table, push it to the side, keep it close so we can refer to it, right? We'll bring another reference, put it here. Maybe not yet, it's good. Not yet. We'll put that on the shelf, make a little bit more room on the table while we can continue to go through. Oh my gosh, this is garbage. Let me move my book out the way. Push that right over there in the trash can. I left my lighters over there on the counter. Yeah. Right? So remember, we got a table, we got a shelf, and we got a trash can while we're filtering through information, right? All right, y'all. So let me run through here real quick. Any questions? Creative gang. What's going on? Hold on.
Race pisses me off even more than it ever does.
Jeremiah, you gotta learn to ignore people.
No, it's not that. It's the adventures. Because there's some inventors that are like, they have inventions that are changing human race, right? Change everything for the better. But these niggas are scared of, one, they want to keep it secret, which is bad. If you keep it secret, they can kill you.
Listen.
And it'll be a lot more easy.
Okay, pause. Hold on.
Then on top of that, these niggas decide.
I missed some of these comments y'all made.
They feel like if they were to open source this, that
Jeremiah, we talking about technology and people hiding technology. We'll talk about that in a minute, son. Hold on. You gotta learn how to hold stuff that's not that we can talk about later. Okay. Avia, did y'all? Okay. She said she'll send it to you. She'll just inbox her, and we'll make it. You know what, guys? Is this I don't know. Is there a link? Hold on, let me see. Can y'all put the PDF link in here? Is it I don't know. Can anybody drop the PDF link in here? If not, Shebra will email it to you, and I'm gonna post it. Hopefully I can post it. I'm saying I'm gonna post it, but I don't know if I can. I'm gonna see, but definitely somebody can email it to you or inbox them. They get it to you. We'll figure out how to do it. All right, hold on. But there was a comment up here that I saw. I think it's from Tabitha. Hold on, I gotta go back. Okay. Tabitha said, I have a beautiful nephew. He's a drug user. He hates bathing. He said the voice told him if he bathes, they will kill him. You know what? That, believe it or not, that, I don't know if other people that that don't bathe, that uses drugs, if they hear the same thing. But there's like a common thread with some of them, right? I mean, because you got to think about it. The spirit that's attached to them, you can kind of call it like a dirty or filthy spirit. You know, not that the person is, but when certain type of spirits engraft upon you, they cause you to do things that you wouldn't normally do, right? So, I mean, that is not uncommon in drug users, right? Like I said, I'm not sure if they all hear that voice about bathing, but and not just that, a couple other spirits as well, I mean, it would make sense because darkness, dirt, filthiness, water, it actually cleanses you. It's a representation of cleaning your spirit and stuff, right? Because it could be a way. I would say, I don't know, if he's crying out for help, I don't know, don't have me hype y'all up, give y'all know what spiritual advice. I'm not a trained exorcist. I'm just thinking through, so don't go use nothing, you know. Test some of this stuff. You know, you got to educate your own self for your situation. I ain't there. I'm just kind of like reading the comments. And, but I don't know. I would say, I mean, don't take what I'm saying with a grain of salt. Because I was about to say, maybe he should try to call the demons bluff, right? And go bathe. But I don't know. I'm saying it because he would, at this point, he probably needs somebody that's definitely a whole lot stronger than him to kind of help him get free, right? Even if they're not spiritual, even if it means going and checking himself into like a rehab or something, right? Because there's other people there and they can make sure the spirit don't try and drown them in the water, right? But there are certain things that they can help with while he's trying to get free. And even although, I mean, they're great, they help people get free, but I think definitely when people are trying to get free of different addictions and stuff like that, you really need people that are trained in the spiritual realm that can help them. So while they're learning how to get free physically and stay free, they can learn how to dislodge those spirits who are engrafted on them to make sure that they stay free spiritually, because that's what happens. They'll get free physically, but they haven't gotten rid of the spiritual parasite, which leads them back to the same place. That's the root of the problem, the spiritual parasite, right? So I would say at this point, he definitely is going to have somebody spiritual and understand these things that's going to help him. Even if he doesn't have anybody, like I say, even going there, and maybe you, Tabitha, shucks, you know, I mean, you may not be a trained exorcist, but with the information that we've learned from Oahspe, I don't know. You may be the closest thing to him, right? That he may listen to or even consider listening to what you have to say. You know, just kind of look at the situation. I'm sure you have. I'm just thinking it through. But if like you're helping him or if he's trying to find a place to get free, just kind of bring it to his attention to be mindful of his spiritual state while he's getting free. He has to remember he has to get rid of the spiritual parasite while he's getting rid of the physical habit that's simply just a symptom of a spiritual parasite, right? The drug use and stuff like those are symptoms of a deeper problem. So if you can help him to understand that, it'll be a little bit better, and he'll probably get the strength, and on his own he'll choose to call the bluff of this parasite that's trying to keep him trapped in this particular bondage. Just that if he doesn't stop, it may send him into he may be born spiritually prematurely, and that's not what we want, all right? Because if he gets free, he could be a great resource to other people who are fighting that issue, right? But how much more beautiful would your nephew be if when he gets free he understands the spiritual side behind it, and all of those people who he would be a light to, that's the first thing he would know that must be attacked. We got to get rid of the spiritual parasite, and he can teach them, right? You can begin to teach people. Don't just try and cast the devil out of them without giving them an education of what's happening, because they need something to hold on to when they're free, right? So they have to kind of understand a little bit of what's going on so they don't find themselves back in that same place. Like, there's strength in education. It really is. So,
look.
Go ahead, Jeremiah. You ain't got to tell me all that. Go do it. Okay. Okay, yeah, we didn't understand, so we yelled at him for being nasty. Yeah. You know, yeah, when you see that, like I said, I seen people not necessarily hooked on drugs, but there was some other issues going on, where that same, I say, maybe not the same spirit, but a spirit like it will keep them from bathing, right? You know, and even if they have access to a bath and like free water, whatever, if they living with somebody, even if they own place, like they will literally choose not to get in there. If somebody says something to them, like I heard stories, you know, they'll go in there, they'll cut the water on and just like let it run, or maybe they'll wash their hands a little bit, you know, but for some, the spirit, whatever it is, they're overshadowing, it's keeping them from getting in the water, right? It's interesting. Because here in Oahspe, it talks about, it's towards the back, I forget which book, like, because it talks about when you bathe, there's a prayer that you, we talked about it. Man, it's the prayer that you pray when you bathe, right there. Like when you bathe, it's not just cleansing your body, but it's also like a time of communion, really, that you should be having with the Father. And there's a prayer, not that you got to repeat the prayer word for word, you know, but just Father, thank you. It's like kind of summing up, but Father, thank you that even as I wash my body clean, my spirit is daily being washed clean as well, right? So it's like you're trying to pair the spirit with the natural so that you can always recognize and see the spirit in everything. Like there's a correlation to everything that we do in a natural where we can pair it with the spiritual, right? So us bathing and cleansing ourselves can be compared to us cleaning up our spirit and washing it free of all the blemishes and stuff like that. So that's a good habit to get into. When you're in the shower, you bathe and you just kind of repeat that prayer. Like I said, you don't have to repeat it word for word, just the gist of it or whatever, right? Because a lot of times you get in there, you do it, and you'll hear other words and prayers of praise coming to you. You just kind of flow with it, right? At least for me, that's how it is, you know. It always changes a little bit, right? Yeah, so, I like what Shebrew said. Listen to him, sis Tabby, and love conquers all. Love him dirty. I'm not laughing at that. Love conquers all. Love him dirty and all. Smother him with love. Yeah. I agree with Shebrew. Okay. All right, y'all. Let's go ahead and get out of here. Father, we thank you. We thank you for the washing of the water of your words of life, you know, and help Sister Tabitha with her, and not just Sister Tabitha, but specifically today for Sister Tabitha. Help her to be a light to her nephew. Give her the wisdom on how to teach him and how to lead him and guide him into all truth so that his eyes can be open, and let him know that he has the strength. He controls his body. He can beat this. Give him the strength. Surround him with people who are stronger spiritually and truly are in line with you. Help him to get free, and not just to get free, but to stay free forever, Father. And as a testimony, as a light and glory to your kingdom, help him be a witness. Help him to be a savior to those around him that he knows that are in that lifestyle, so that they can also get free and stay free and keep multiplying it, so that we have many men and women who break out of that lifestyle, who become free, and they begin to know you, and their lives become a light to this world. All right, y'all. I love y'all. It is Wednesday, December the 7th, 2022. Day 282 of year 4 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets, and of the 4-year consecutive day count, day 1302. Today we read in Oahspe pages 78 through 80. We read pages 166 through 169 in the Field Guide to the Spirit Realm. And in Sunrays of Radiance, we read the introduction and that first section on abortion. We didn't read all of the section. The abortion portion continues to go on all the way up to page 21. So like I said, if you read it, go ahead and finish reading it, because it hits on some more portions of life and stuff. And it's really good. So we read that, and like I said, I'll post it for those that don't have it yet, that didn't get it from Shebrew or Jamil, whoever is sending it. That way everybody can have it, right? All right, I love y'all. You're welcome, Tabitha. Miss Amazing Wonders, hey girl, hey. Cosmine Cow, what's up, brother? Yeah. All right, y'all. I love y'all. I'll see y'all back here tomorrow morning, bright and early, 6:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. My Dean, my Lee. Shalom, shalom. Peace, y'all. Love y'all. Bye.